Welcome back, and I'm Majid, and this is Financial Crime Awareness Hub. So imagine a senior government minister walk into a private bank, nice suit, expensive watch, sorry, comes in with an assistant carrying his bag. So he wants to open a private banking account, the kind where a dedicated relationship manager, a nice coffee with a nice room, with the relationship manager, and there's a promise of discretion and privacy. Now, most banks would rule definitely a red carpet for a customer like this. It's a high net worth individual, a high profile, great for the bank's books, right? But in our compliance world, that red carpet is exactly the problem, and it turned out it could be a red flag as well, because the more important someone is, the more access they have to power, budgets, and decisions that move real money. And that access is exactly what makes them a target or sometimes the source of the problem themselves. We call this person as politically exposed person, a PEP as an acronym. And today we're going to discuss why one polite, well-dressed customer can create more risk than an entire portfolio of ordinary accounts. Let's start with what actually makes someone a PEP or PEP. Okay, so a politically exposed person, in simple words, is someone who holds or has held a position of public power. Think head of state, senior politicians, senior government officials, judges, military officials, or senior executives at state-owned companies. The FATF, which sets the global standard for AML rules, split PEPs into three types or three categories. First one, a foreign PEP. He's a person or entrusted with public functions by a foreign country. Think a minister from another nation opening an account in your country. Then we have domestic PEP. The same idea, but entrusted with public functions right here in the country where your institution operates. Then international PEP. So senior people at global bodies. Think the Secretary General, Executive Director, or President of an international organization such as World Bank or IMF. Now, FATF actually guidance is clear on one thing: foreign PEPs should always be treated as a high risk and always get enhanced due diligence. That's what you need to remember. Now, for domestic and international organization PEPs, FATF says do a proper risk assessment first, then decide the level of scrutiny that you have to do. But here's the twist: being the minister is not the only way to be a PEP. Let's see why. Okay, so politically exposed person don't stop at the person as in like who holds the office. It extends to their immediate family members as well, such as a spouse, children, sometimes parents and sibling as well, depending on the jurisdictions. It also extends to the close associates such as business partners, close friends, people who share ownership of a company with them. Why? Because a smart PAP does not put stolen or bribed money directly under their own name. That would even be far too obvious, right? Instead, the account gets opened by the spouse, the company gets registered under the brother-in-law, the property gets bought by a local business partner. Think about it like this: if a powerful person cannot collect the money themselves without raising eyebrows, right, they will simply send someone they trust to collect it for them. Same idea what we discussed in our shell company video. Okay, always sending someone else to answer the door. Expect this also, the thing as the same. It's like someone else in the family. So how big a problem is this really, right? Let's put it in a numbers. Okay, so here's something worth, I would say, discussing. Corruption cases involve PEP regularly. Top the largest financial crime cases prosecuted around the world. Stolen, state funds, inflated public contracts, bribes. disguised as consulting fees, all moved through the financial system by people who had legitimate looking jobs. Okay. So if a country, finance minister earns, say, $100,000 a year in salary, and suddenly their private bank account showed several million dollars in deposits, what's the first question you, as a compliance officer, need to ask, right? So I would say that question has the name in our, compliance domain. We call it as a source of wealth, and it's the single most important question you will ever ask a PAP. Let's go back to our, minister from the start of this video and put these things into work, into our words. Or let's see now in the next slide. How do we label that? Okay. So yeah. Every time I would say here, you need to remember it's very important. Okay. Now, the first step for the bank is PEP screening. Check whether this individual or any of the beneficial owners linked to his accounts appear on a PEP list. That's done before the account goes live, and it's repeated regularly afterwards. Then step two is the understanding two very different questions that should be asked, and it sounds similar but are not. Source of wealth and source of funds. Now, source of wealth is how someone built their overall net worth over their lifetime, such as salary, inheritance, investments. Now, source of funds is where this specific deposit came from. A minister might have a legitimate source of wealth from years of investment, but if a $5 million deposit just landed in their account with no explanation, that's a source of funds problem, and it needs its own answer. Step three is the enhanced due diligence. Deeper checks, more documentation, more senior sign-offs, because a foreign PEP is automatically high risk under FATF guidance. Step 4 is the debate every compliance team eventually has. Once a PEP, always a PEP. Some institutions keep the classification for life because influence does not disappear the day someone leaves their office. Others reassess how much real influence does this person still have and how long ago did they actually step down. Now, what would actually tip you off that something goes possibly wrong? Let's talk about now the red flags of it. Let's make this, I would say, practical. Here's what should catch your attention when you are reviewing a PEP file. Step 1, or red flag 1, the account activity does not match the declared salary, a modest government salary, but the account shows luxury property purchases or large cash movements. Red flag number 2, moving funds through or to family members and close associates with no clear business reasons. Payments to a spouse personal account for something described only as a consulting. Red flag 3, unusually large donations to political parties or campaigns, especially where the source of funds is not clearly explained. Red flag 4, use of complex company structures, trust, and offshore accounts to hold assets when a simpler structure would have done the job just as well. Red flag 5, sudden wealth shortly after being awarded a public contract, a government tender, or a state asset sale. Okay, spotting it in is one thing. Here's what a compliance officer would actually do about it. Okay. This part is also very important that you need to focus in your exams as well. Okay. Step 1, screen at onboarding and re-screen regularly. PEP status can change. Someone new comes into the office, someone else leaves, right? Step 2, establish source of wealth and source of funds clearly with real supporting documents, not just a verbal explanation. Step 3, apply enhanced due diligence automatically for foreign PEPs and run a proper risk assessment for domestic and international PEPs, international organization PEPs. Step 4, get senior management or committee sign off before onboarding a higher risk PEP. This decision should not sit with one relationship manager. Wolfsburg paper on the private banking, you can also go through that. Step 5, apply ongoing closer transaction monitoring for the life of the relationship, not just at the time of onboarding. Let's test what we have learned now with a question. Okay, so a private banking onboarded a customer 18 months ago, okay, who at the time was a senior minister in a foreign government. The bank correctly classified him as a politically exposed person and applied enhanced due diligence. He has since left office. During a periodic review, a relationship manager recommends removing his PEP classification and reduce monitoring. Okay, so then noting that he is no longer in government based on FATF guidance, what is the best response? Option A, approve the removal immediately since former officials are no longer PEPs. Option B, maintains enhanced due diligence and reassess risk based on his ongoing influence and how recently he left office rather than title alone. Option C, reduce monitoring to standard due diligence since FATF only classifies serving officials as PEPs. Option D, automatically keep EDD in place permanently with no further reassessments ever required. There are 4 options. Out of these 4 options, you have to select one. You may pause your video. You can see the answer on the next screen. So option B is correct. Why? FATF guidance doesn't say a PEP classification disappears the moment someone's leave the office. It says organizations should look at the individual ongoing influence. Do they still move in the same circles? They still have contacts who owe them favors, and how long ago they actually stepped down? That's the risk-based approach in action. Okay, so reassess. Okay, don't just switch it on and off kind of a concept. Okay, option A is wrong, and it's a common mistake. Leaving office does not erase influence overnight. A former minister often still has relationships, the contracts, and informal power well after the title is gone. Option C is wrong also for the same reason, and it also misreads FATF's guidance. FATF's definition already includes people who have been entrusted with prominent public functions, not only those currently serving. Option D is also wrong, even though it sounds cautious. Some institutions do choose a permanent, once a PEP, always a PEP policy, and that's a legitimate risk appetite choice depending on the institution. But the question asks what FATF guidance actually recommends. And that's a periodic risk assessment, not a fixed rule with a zero review. Okay, so let's bring everything together now. Here's what I want you to take away from this today's video. Being a PEP is not an accusation, I would say. It's a risk category. Most people are exactly who they say they are, having legitimate public servants doing their legitimate jobs. Okay? But their positions gives them access that ordinary customers don't have. And that access is exactly what a compliance officer has to account for. Screen properly, understand source of wealth and source of funds, reassess, and don't assume. And remember, the risk doesn't always wear the minister's name. Sometimes it wears his wife's name, his brother's name, or his business partners. Okay. In the next video, we are going to discuss the concentration risk. Okay. And as always, at Advice Cube, we help candidates to prepare for CAMS, CGSS, CFE. We have designed this course with the proper crisp notes so that our working professionals can get this specific information. Then we have designed an e-learning course that has an inbuilt-in AI bot that is specifically designed on CAMS material. So what you do, you put a question and you get your answer, particularly for purely for the CAMS material itself. We have a Telegram group as well that can support you to put your questions as well. Should you have any question, you can drop your email to us or drop us an WhatsApp message on the below number, and I'll see you in the next video.